February 10th, 1907, page 195. I visited Dr. Baker today on my lunch break, and I excused myself from the office and slipped upstairs to the 4th floor to talk to her. I felt I needed some answers, not about Mr. Soper, but about myself, answers only she could give me. The 4th floor is a long hall, rooms with glass doors on either side. Girls filled delivery baskets with cream eggs at one table. Yet at another, white-dressed nurses tend to infants with dirty faces, and rag-clad mothers hovering nearby. On the wall, a sign reads, "Help a child, give to the needy." At the far end of the hall, Dr. Baker sat in an office, her name stenciled across the clear glass door. Seeing her, I felt what I might become one day, a woman with her own office in a world of medicine. Then I caught the distress in her eyes. From across the desk, from her dandy twirled his hat with his one hand and a brandished cigar with the other, and I couldn't hear the words through the closed door, but I worried for her, and revealed my presence through the window. Her face brightened when she saw me, and she nodded and waved as if she'd been waiting for me. She excused herself to the man, got up, and opened the door for me. "Come in, please, come in, Prudence," she said, ushering me in. She said to the man, "Yes, so, that's really all I can tell you now." He stood slowly, looking suspiciously from her to me. "I'll hear back from you soon?" he asked. "Oh, quite soon," she said. Words seemed to gather in his mouth, but none came out. He turned and left the office. Dr. Baker sighed and returned at his desk. "Please sit," she said to me. The chair was still warm from the man, and I slid to the edge and folded my hands, nearly overcome by the cheap cologne and the cigar stink in the air. Dr. Baker touched her curls, took off her spectacles, and wiped them clean. Her bare face surprised me, the thin skin around her eyes, the weakness of her vision. I did not think she contained such frailty. I wanted to ask about the man, but it was not my place. Returning her glasses to her nose, it was as if her strength had returned. She looked at me expectantly and asked me how she could help me. I want to talk to you about school," I said. "Ah," she said and smiled. "It would do my heart good to have you join me in the women's cause." I didn't know what she meant by the cause. Perhaps she was talking about the suffragettes. I've seen them march in the streets in order to gain the vote and women's rights. Their voices are loud and their arms hooked together in protest. They don't seem afraid of anything. Marm also calls them pioneers, setting the way for other women to follow. "How old are you, Prudence?" Dr. Baker asked. "I'm almost 17. "And where do you attend school now?" "Ma'am, I left to take this job." She picked up the ink pen on her desk and tapped the end against her blotter. It was as if something in her moved away from me. "Does Mr. Soper know you left?" she asked. "I mentioned it at my first interview, ma'am, but I told him I could work, so he hired me." "Well, that seems neglectful of him," she said. "I thought he was more interested in your future." "It's not his fault, ma'am. It was my own decision to leave school. I did go to Mrs. Browning herself and try to plead with her to let me continue my schooling at the same time, but she wouldn't left. So I left." "Mrs. Browning?" the doctor repeated. "Did you attend Mrs. Browning's school for girls?" I nodded. "Why would a girl with your scientific skills go to a vocational school of all places?" "My mother didn't want me to go to a free school," I said. "She thought Mrs. Browning would give me a better chance in life than she had. She doesn't want me to end up a midwife like her." Dr. Baker's eyebrows raised. "Your mother's a midwife?" "Yes," I said. "I spent last summer helping her." "So you've done some doctoring?" Dr. Baker smiled. "And now you want to go to medical school?" I had never thought about my work with Marm as doctoring. "I'm not sure," I said. "Is that so?" Dr. Baker's eyes urged the truth from me. "Ma'am, it's just, this case with Mary Mallon has got me questioning myself," I said. "Questioning how?" she said. I spoke delicately about something in me, but something in me trusted I could be honest. "Well, ma'am, when I started working for Mr. Soper, I saw illness as a kind of weed, something that could be found and cleaned away. I didn't think it could live inside of a person without sickening or killing them, not like with Mary. Now it's as if the disease and the person are inseparable. When the police officer threw Mary in the snow and they locked her up, they were treating her like a disease. But she's a person. She has feelings. I can't seem to think about the case without thinking about her, too." The doctor looked at me as if she was evaluating my words, and she laughed in one short bark. I was relieved at her laughter, though I didn't understand it. "That's exactly what they try to teach you in medical school," she said. compassion. But I can't pull apart what she feels and what I feel, ma'am. That will come in time, Dr. Baker said. You'll learn to see the larger picture. I wish I felt as confident as she did. Do you understand the need for quarantine, Prudence? Dr. Baker looked hard at me. I didn't have an answer. She said, keeping Mary at a safe distance from the public is the difference between one person's temporary discomfort and hundreds falling ill. Disease is a removable evil, and that is the motto of our department. Mary carries the typhoid, Prudence. There's no way around that fact. I wanted to ask her if she thought Mary herself was evil because she carried disease, but something in her face kept me quiet. Her eyes relaxed. You are an observant girl. Your notes are thoughtful and clear. You seem to care about people. You have a wonderfully curious mind. You know, Prudence, I think you would make a fine doctor, she said. Her words warmed me like hands holding me. It was the strong opinion I longed for, the outside view I'd been seeking. She presented me with the innocent self again, the girl who wanted to do something meaningful with her life. Then my memories returned, of what we had done with Mary, of my own weak emotions. My doubts came back quick and strong. Medical school is the most difficult kind of education, Dr. Baker went on. It involves the study of many subjects, and you'll have to cut open bodies and handle inner organs. In order to succeed, you must want it more than anything. When I took this job, I wanted to see a cell in a microscope more than anything. But now that I've seen so many other disturbing things, I'm just not sure that's what I want anymore. Dr. Baker sat back in the chair, folding her hands against her waist. It wasn't easy seeing Mary in that police wagon, I said quietly. Our actions were for the greater good, Prudence. Surely you must see that, for all of your reservations. We have stopped the spread of disease. As a doctor, you must make impossible decisions and face terrible odds. You have to know whether you can do that or not. And I nodded, wondering if I could ever see things the way she did. It's a slow process, learning about the human body and what makes us sick, she said gently. It's even slower discovering ways to cure us. If we knew how to rid Mary of the typhoid germ, we would be able to release her. We need good brains to help figure these things out, brains like yours. I had come to her with the intention of finding answers, but instead I felt more confused. She said that I had the ability to become a doctor, but I didn't know if I had the heart. The air felt uncomfortable suddenly. I cleared my throat, and I said that I thought Mr. Soper might be looking for me, and I thanked her and stood and went to the door and bid her good day.